Welcome back to the Institute for Swedenborg Studies at Bryn College. I'm Professor Grant Schnarr, and this is a course on the afterlife. In this session, we will be talking about becoming who you really are. This segment is on becoming who you really are. Basically, that's what we're doing our entire lives. When God created us, might go back to our last session, when God created us with the freedom to become whoever we want, to reflect Him, to bring Him into our lives so that we can be with Him eternally in heaven. But we get that choice, how we're going to create ourselves. Swedenborg talks about what is our ruling or dominant love in this reading. Our dominant love is what leads us in everything that we do. As a matter of fact, Swedenborg says, a great deal of my experience has testified to the fact that we are our love or intention after death. That's what we are. We are our love, our intention. When we go to the other world, it's what have we made ourselves into? Are we predominantly a good person or predominantly an evil or selfish person? That's what a ruling love is. It's either a negative or a positive. Now, in exploring this idea, it's very different than what people have said in different traditional religious faiths about how you get into heaven or how you end up in hell. For a lot of people, when we think about it, we think about someone maybe having a book of life and sitting there and going, let's see, how have you done? Oh, okay, for your deeds, let's see, 10,438 good deeds, 10,450 bad ones, you gotta go to hell. You know, that kind of thing, if you're basing it on what are your deeds. How many good deeds get you into heaven? How many bad deeds get you into hell? And yet Swedenborg says it's not simply what your deeds are. You can be a really good person and have done some things that you really regret. You can be a really bad person and have done a lot of really good things for people, but for what motive? What's the reason? It's not simply your deeds. Now, your deeds are going to show up in who you are, but it's not based on a list of how many good deeds you've done or how many evil deeds you've done to determine where you go. Now, on the other hand, it's not deeds, well, it's not creeds either. Think about it. Think about someone who could live a very, very good life inside and may not really be that motivated by a certain religion. Maybe they believe in a higher supreme being. Maybe they believe in loving the neighbor and doing what's right. And they've put that together in their life, but not had a strong doctrine. Maybe they're not Christian. Maybe they come from a different faith. But if they're following their God, and they're living by the principles of their religion, Swedenborg says that changes them. That opens them up. They're coming into a heavenly way of life. So it's like, does it really matter what we believe or what we say? Like I could say, I remember seeing this movie, I'm not going to know what it was, but these people are trying to convince this person, to not be an atheist anymore and to accept Jesus or whatever. So what happens in the movie is at the very end of the movie, this person is hit by a car. They're laying on the ground, they're dying. Kids run up to him and say, do you accept Jesus Christ? He goes, yes, I do. And they're like, he dies. And they're like, yay. It's like, it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. I think it doesn't work for a lot of people. Is it really something that you say? Is it really simply a confession? Because people can make confessions regardless of what they're like on the inside. Think about somebody, wouldn't you? At the end of your life, regardless, just like hedge your bets and say, okay, I believe this, or I believe that, or I'll say this, or I'll say that, just in case. But really, is that what it is? Something that we've professed? Is it something that I said, I believe this? Only if we're living by it. I believe in Jesus. I believe in God, whatever that might be for you. And I'm following Jesus. I'm following God. Whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, Jesus said, is like a person who builds their house on the rock, on his word. So, that might be hard for some people. I really want you to think about it. Is it really what we believe simply, or what we say, or is it really all that we just do? Or is it who we are and our belief systems are part of who we are and what we do is part of who we are, or manifests who we are, But it's really like, when we go into the other world, we are heading toward heaven or toward hell because of our own journey and who we are, not because someone else outside of us is saying, you're going to go there or you're going to go there according to what's written on my book or according to what you've confessed to me. We make the decision about where we go. So I'd like to read one more thing to you about that, and that is Swedenborg says this: anything that doesn't agree with our dominant love is removed and apparently taken away from us. Ultimately, everyone becomes his or her own love in the other world. And what Swedenborg is saying is that there is a process through which we shed everything off that's not us anymore, and we come into being completely who we are. Completely who we are. And that will dictate where we go. Now, the only thing I want you to think about, and it's important for all of us to think about, is like right now, reflection. What is my dominant love? What do I care about? Where am I going? Is it all about me? That's what I ask my students. Now, usually when you're a college student, yeah, it's about getting good grades. It's about getting through, going off in my career or whatever. But really, to really be aware of what is motivating me. Can I change that? Can I learn to be a more loving person? Can I learn to be more of a useful person and to be giving and to be heavenly inside, angelic type person? Because that's what it's all about. That is the way that leads us, to beauty. That's what the being of light, if you remember, asks, have you learned to love and are you learning to grow wise? I think that's key for everything that Swedenborg says as well. I'm just going to stop right there.